hey, people are doubting us, I'm going to prove you wrong. You know what I mean? It gives you that chip on the shoulder, and I think the Chicago Bulls are playing with that chip on their shoulder. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another episode of NBA Now. It's your boy Dom, and we're gonna get right into things here today. So today, we are talking about the Chicago Bulls. Now, Chicago Bulls have come out and looked very, very solid. Obviously, some of their wins aren't against the greatest teams, such as the Detroit Pistons twice. Obviously a rebuilding team and stuff like that, but they've come out and they've looked good. I know Bulls fans are excited about them, and currently, they're leading the Eastern Conference at 4-0. So they haven't lost a game yet. And I made a video earlier on, kind of before the season started, about why Lonzo was the best signing for them in the offseason. And I think that definitely still holds up pretty well to start the season. So if you guys want to go check that out, you guys can, for kind of my thoughts earlier. But yeah, right now they're looking super good. Speaking of Lonzo, he is averaging 14, 6 and 5 currently for them. And currently that would put him at, his second highest points in his career. He's averaging almost 2 blocks a game. He's averaging 2 steals a game, which if he kept that up, those would both be career highs. His assist is actually at a career low, which is kind of crazy. But that's just because, you brought in some other playmakers. Obviously, you have Zach LaVine already. You brought in DeMar, who's a good playmaker. You already have you brought in Alex Caruso as well, and then even Vucevic at the center position. He's not a Jokic or anything, but he's a decent playmaker at the center position. And so Lonzo Ball is having a really good season. From 3, he is shooting 43% from 3. Which is pretty damn good, especially on 7.5 attempts. So any concerns about his three-pointer, I think, can be, completely taken away now. He's definitely picked it up and is shooting super good on a high volume three-point percentage. And then overall, he's shooting 45% from the field. So he's almost shooting better from 3 than he is from the field. Now, his free throw percentage is 100% as well. So he's made all of his free throws. Obviously, that's been an issue for him in the past, but he's slowly gotten better. We saw it go from 45% to 40% to 56% to 78%, and now currently he hasn't missed a free throw yet to start the year off, so that's pretty good. I mean, he's only averaging 1 every other game, so he's not getting in the line a ton, but that's kind of the whole league, but at least he's making them when he gets there, and so that's pretty solid. To look at the other guy I talked about that they brought in, DeMar DeRozan, he has done pretty good for them. For his career, he averages 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 3.8 assists. This season, he's averaging 22.5 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 4.5 assists for the Chicago Bulls. And, when we kind of break down his stats a little bit more, we see that he's averaging about half a block per game, almost a steal per game, and even he's not shooting bad from 3. Typically a guy that's never been good from 3. Previously, his career high being a 33.8 back in 2015-2016 when he made the All-Star team. And he's only shot over 30% 3 times in his career. Again, in 2017-2018 where he shot 31% and made the All-Star team. And in 2013-2014, the first time he made the All-Star team at 30.5%. But this year, to start it off, he's shooting 37.5% from 3, which is a good bit above league average. And, I mean, it's only on 2 3-point attempts per game, so it's not high volume. But if he can just make the ones that he shoots or, make him at this clip, that's super, super solid for the team. And it's going to do a lot for the Chicago Bulls spacing, because I think a lot of the media and stuff like that was concerned that, he was going to have a big effect on that spacing and that he wasn't going to have a big enough impact. But he's come out, he's done super well. And, he's averaging over 20 points per game on a new team. And when you look at what he did last year, I mean, he's averaging more points per game. His assists have gone down as well because there's just more people making plays, right? More playmakers on the team. But his rebounds have gone up, and, he's close to a career high. His career high being in 2018-2019, his first year with the Spurs, where he had 6 per game. He's at 5.8 right now, so he could push for a career high there. But overall, playing super solid for them, and there's a lot of excitement around this team. I mean, this is a good offensive team, a team that's got it better defensively, and I think a team that's only going to get better as the season goes on, and as they kind of build more and more chemistry. I know this is an excitement that Bulls fans haven't had in like a decade. Really, you got to go back to D-Rose and them competing with the Miami Heat and stuff like that in the early 2010s to kind of see the excitement from this for Bulls fans and stuff like that. And now I don't know if we can say that the Bulls are a finals team, but before this season I would have said that they were going to be the 4 seed, and I would still like to back that up that they're going to probably finish with home court in the first round of the playoffs. They're definitely making the playoffs, and they're a super solid team. When you look at the team overall, it's a pretty solid roster. The roster being Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic is your big 4 for the most part. Then you've got Alex Caruso and Patrick Williams as your main role players. And then you've got guys like Javonte Green. You got guys like Elise Johnson, Tony Bradley, Derek Jones Jr. that are all decent role players. And then some kind of fill out the roster guys in Troy Brown Jr., in Ayo Dosunmu, who's the rookie that they drafted in the second round. And then Matt Thomas, also a pretty decent shooter, to kind of round out the roster. Obviously, Kobe Wright's on the roster. I believe he must be injured right now, to be honest. I mean, I'm not a Bulls fan, so to be honest, I don't entirely know. He hasn't played yet, though, for them this season. But yeah, it says he's injured, and he's expected to return sometime in November. So he should be back here pretty soon for them, and that should give him a good scoring punch off the bench. I mean, he averaged 14 in his rookie season, and I don't expect him to come in and be a playmaker. I think he can just be a potential 6 Man of the Year candidate for them in his second season in the NBA. And definitely something that could be a playmaker for them and make a difference. And, I think the Bulls really proved the media wrong, right? This is kind of the title of the video. It's on the thumbnail for sure. But they proved the media wrong, right? Everybody in mainstream media wasn't giving the Bulls respect. The only people that were hyping up the Bulls really were Bulls fans. And I think the media clouded the vision on what this team was going to be. So I think that might have helped this team rally together and be like, yeah, we're going to prove you wrong. You know what I mean? Because this team has looked solid, right? You've got all these playmakers across the board, and you're, like I said, you're only going to get better, not only chemistry-wise, but you're also going to be bringing back Kobe White, right? And whether Kobe White stays on this team or they trade him in the future, he's still going to be a good scoring punch or a good asset for you to help you out. And you're sitting, atop of the Eastern Conference to start off the season. Now, we're only 4 games through the season, and we've seen the Magic sit on top and then fall to be the 9 seed or whatever. We've seen them go 8-0 or whatever and then fall. I think the Bulls won't be the number 1 seed, but definitely I could see them keeping up this good play in the regular season. I mean, they are built for the regular season. You have a deep team, you have multiple scorers across the board, and that helps you win games on a consistent night-to-night basis. Yeah, so it's just super intriguing to kind of see what this team is going to do. Now, Nikola Vucevic, he isn't having the best year scoring-wise, but when Nikola Vucevic is only averaging 14 points per game and 11 rebounds, you're doing something right if you're still 4-0. Now, I haven't watched a lot of Bulls to start the season, but looking at his stats, he's averaging 3.5 assists, so like I said, a pretty decent playmaker at the center position. His career high was last year with 3.9 assists. He's also averaging 2.3 steals and 1.3 blocks, which if he can keep that up for the whole season would be super decent for them. Obviously not a great defender, but definitely at least serviceable. He's more of a drop big, which can be taken advantage of in certain just offensive schemes, such as the Phoenix Suns scheme, where you have a lot of that high pick and roll with DeAndre Ayton and an athletic big that can roll the rim, that puts pressure on your center to make the decision of who he's gonna defend, right? We saw Giannis really be one of the main and only guys to be able to truly counter that, where he has that lateral quickness, the size and everything, and the jumping ability to not only be able to block that guard that's trying to go for the shot, whether it be Chris Paul or Devin Booker, but also be able to recover. And, we saw that huge block on Ayton in the finals. Now, Vucevic isn't as athletic as Giannis. Not many people are, if there's anybody athletic as Giannis, that is at his size. So, that does create some potential playoff problems, especially being in the East. But for now, they're looking solid. I know their schedule toughens up here as the season continues. But yeah, I mean, to start off 4-0, it's definitely going to help your chemistry. And, if you were to go on a losing streak or something, you can kind of fall back on that. Hey, we were this, let's get back to this type of thing. LaVine, he's having another good year. He's averaging 25, 5-5 really. So like I said, multiple playmakers across the board. LaVine, I think, probably stepping up in that category, or maybe just being able to kind of be more of an assist guy now because he has more options, right? He can get the ball to some other guys that are actually going to make shots. Now, he had a career high in assists last year with 4.9. Ever since he got to Chicago, other than his first year, he's averaged over 4 assists per game. So this kind of is in line with what he's done there. But yeah, I mean, it makes it easier for him when you have playmakers that not only are going to knock down their shots, especially the way that some of their new guys are shooting, but also they are just going to be able to get open and even hit contested shots, right? DeMar is pretty much a sniper from the mid-range, and I would say he's up there as one of the best mid-range shooters of all time. I mean, he's made a living as a, all-star, multiple-time all-star, in multiple, different cities and stuff like that, shooting from the mid-range in an era where mid-range, a lot of people talk about the mid-range dying. You see DeMar as a guy that's really kept it alive. And a lot of people have criticized him for that, but, he's made a living. He's made all-star appearances. He's a 4-time all-star, and he just got paid like an all-star. So, definitely a very good player, and I think that'll help LaVine, and I assume LaVine will re-sign. But kind of back to how they kind of exposed the media. Like, the media was pushing the narrative that just the Chicago Bulls weren't going to be good. It didn't matter. The Chicago Bulls were just going to be just another team in the East. They thought that, because they didn't make it last year, they were just going to lose again. They didn't think DeMar had good impact. Nobody watched DeMar in San Antonio and saw... I mean, DeMar is probably a better overall player now than he was when he was with Toronto. You know what I mean? Now, in Toronto, he was that number one option. He was a super solid scorer. He was able to do all that. And him and Kyle Lowry, constantly were high seeds in the East playoffs, right? Obviously in a weaker East than it is now, but still, a consistent... I mean, they were named LeBronto, but definitely a consistent team out East that, was able to make a lot of stuff happen. And, ultimately never kind of got over that hump until DeMar was traded. But when he went to San Antonio, that, the coaching of Pop and that system evolved DeMar's game to the point where, he started shooting a little bit more threes as the Spurs kind of started shooting more threes themselves. He became a super good playmaker. I mean, his playmaking developed from a guy that wasn't really much of a playmaker to I wouldn't say an elite, but definitely a super solid playmaker in the NBA. I mean, he went from averaging 0.7 assists his rookie season. His last year in Toronto, he averaged 5.2 assists, and he averaged higher than that every single year in San Antonio, where he averaged 6.2, 5.6, and almost 7 assists per game last year. A guy that's had constant playmaking production increase throughout his career, and is definitely big for this team, especially in the half court, as Lonzo being more of a full court playmaker. Having DeMar to be able to kind of do that in the half court is huge for the Bulls, I think. And the media just didn't know what to think about it, right? You saw all these kind of guys that the media gave up on, right? They gave up on Lonzo Ball. They gave up on DeMar DeRozan. They thought Zach LaVine needed to leave. They kind of gave up on Nikola Vucevic, although the media's never kind of been with Nikola Vucevic. And then, I mean, you had Alex Caruso, who was almost thought of as more of a mean player, but he's a solid role player. He was a solid role player for the Lakers. He's a solid role player for the Chicago Bulls. And, sometimes that's all you need, is you just need a couple guys that can put you over the hump, some good role players, and you can be a playoff team. Now, obviously, they've invested their future, but I think looks like it's going to work out well for them. Especially, you know, if you can have this backcourt of Lonzo and Levine headed into the future. You've got current veterans like Vucevic and DeMar, and, you know, I think as the years go on, you'll be able to kind of progress that. You know, you kind of shift your roster to be a little bit younger on that back end half as, you know, Lonzo and Levine and Patrick Williams and all that get older. You kind of shift that bottom half of your roster to be younger and be able to kind of help you throughout the regular season more, and you can kind of see how you could progress in the future to become a consistent playoff team as the Chicago Bulls. But you could also see how, you know, if you didn't succeed this season, it would have been a mess in Chicago, but you're gonna succeed, and I think that's a huge thing for the Bulls, the fact that they are gonna succeed, and the fact that you know, just all the talk about how they weren't like real coming into the season. I think they came out and wanted to prove a point. Now, you know, obviously NBA players don't listen to it as much as us fans do, you know what I mean? They hear it, but they don't listen to it as much, especially, you know, those disciplined players and stuff like that. But, you know, they still, once they hear it, it's like, oh, maybe they don't respect the opinion or whatnot, but it's in their mind of, hey, you know, maybe I have something to prove. They don't really need to prove anything to you specifically, but hey, people are doubting us, I'm going to prove you wrong. You know what I mean? It gives you that chip on the shoulder, and I think the Chicago Bulls are playing with that chip on their shoulder, and they're playing super well, and I'm interested to see how their season goes. I'm definitely, you know, when Chicago's good, typically the NBA is good. Shout out to Michael Jordan, you know what I mean? But yeah, when Chicago is good, typically the NBA is booming, and as an NBA fan, you can't ask for much better than the Chicago Bulls being good, and the Los Angeles Lakers potentially picking things back up now. But yeah, you can't ask for much better than when big markets are good in the NBA. It helps bring awareness to small markets. I mean, we just saw the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks in the finals, and we were all super happy about that, right? And that's, well, big markets are being good, right? The Clippers assembled, the Lakers assembled, you know, the Knicks made the playoffs again last year. And, you know, the Knicks don't have to win the finals, the Bulls don't have to win the finals, the Lakers don't even have to win the finals. But when they are playoff teams, when they're consistent, and when they're good, it puts more eyes on smaller markets, and it just makes the NBA, I think, a better product. And, yeah, so that's going to kind of be it about the Bulls. I'm excited to see what they can do. I'd expect them to get home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs, and I'm interested to see if they can kind of make something this season and try and make a run in the playoffs, and just kind of see how things progress towards the future. Kobe White is definitely the potential X factor and the biggest question mark on this team, so we'll kind of see how that goes. But yeah, super interesting, and I'm liking the way that things are turning out. So if you guys did enjoy, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe for more. Like I said, I do have that Lonzo Ball video if you guys want to see more of my previous thoughts on the Bulls, so you guys can go check that out as well. But yeah, this is gonna be it for your boy Dom from NBA Now, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace out.